The officer thought he was pulling over just another black man. But what he didn't know was that the man behind the wheel had the power to decide his future. For David Turner, a 47-year-old black man, this wasn't just another traffic stop. David Turner had spent his life building the kind of reputation that would make his late father proud. From a boy raised in the heart of Birmingham, Alabama, to graduating Harvard Law, to sitting on a bench as one of the youngest African-American judges in the state, his story was one of triumph, resilience, and unshakable discipline. But that night, none of it mattered, because in the dark, on a lonely stretch of highway, Judge David Turner wasn't wearing his robe. He wasn't behind the safety of the bench. He was just a black man in a suit driving home from a long day at court. And the flashing lights behind him, those were a reminder that the world outside didn't care about titles. David pulled over slowly, easing his black Lexus sedan onto the gravel shoulder. His hands, steady from years of courtroom control, gripped the wheel tight enough to make his knuckles pale. The officer stepped out his cruiser. His name was Officer Brian Keller, a 12-year veteran of the force, known around town for his hard-nosed policing. In reality, his record was littered with complaints. Excessive force, racial profiling, intimidation. None had stuck. His badge had protected him. He approached the car with a swagger, his flashlight beam slicing across David's face. License and registration, Keller barked. "Yes, officer," David replied calmly, voice deep but steady. "It's in my wallet inside my jacket. I'm going to reach for it now." Slowly. But Keller's eyes narrowed with suspicion. To him, calmness wasn't professionalism, it was arrogance. The officer saw just another black man in a nice car. Someone he believed didn't belong behind the wheel of it. What he didn't see was a courtroom where David presided every day, commanding respect. What he didn't see was a gavel that had ended countless cases, or the law degree framed proudly in David's chambers. The audience, however, sees it. That's the irony. We know this is no ordinary man, but Keller doesn't, and that ignorance was about to cost him everything. David handed over his license. Keller glanced at it briefly, then smirked. "Judge, huh?" he said mockingly, not believing it. "You expect me to buy that?" David's brow furrowed. "That is my identification, sir. You can run it." But Keller wasn't interested in truth. He was interested in control. "You been drinking tonight?" Keller asked sharply. "No, sir. Just leaving chambers. Long day." Keller leaned closer, flashlight beam cutting into David's eyes. "You smell that? Smells like liquor to me." David's heart sank. He hadn't touched a drop. The accusation was pure invention, but a dangerous one. "Step out of the car," Keller ordered. David unbuckled, stepped out slowly, his suit jacket swaying in the night breeze. Cars whooshed by on the highway, their headlights briefly illuminating the surreal scene. A black man in a tailored suit standing rigid under the glare of a patrol car, while an officer circled him like prey. Keller's voice dripped with condescension. "Funny thing, a man like you driving a car like this. Must be nice." David inhaled deeply. "Not here. Not now. Keep calm. Spread your arms." "I'm going to search you," Keller demanded. "For what cause?" David asked, his voice carefully measured. Keller's eyes darkened. "For the cause that I said so. That's enough." He patted David down aggressively, finding nothing. Still unsatisfied, Keller turned his attention to the Lexus. Popped the trunk. "Officer, there is no probable cause. Pop it, or I'll impound the whole damn vehicle." David clenched his jaw, humiliation coursing through him. He complied. As Keller rifled through the trunk, his frustration grew. Nothing illegal, nothing suspicious. So he reached into his own pocket, a small bag of white powder. His eyes gleamed with twisted satisfaction as he prepared to find it. But what Keller didn't know was that dashcam technology had just been updated across the department. And this very stop, from the moment Keller stepped out his cruiser, was being recorded in crystal clarity. "Look here," Keller said, holding up the bag theatrically. "What do we have? Looks like you're in possession of narcotics." David's eyes widened. "That's not mine." "Tell it to the judge," Keller sneered. Then, with cruel irony, "Oh, wait, you were the judge, right?" He twisted David's arm, forcing him toward the hood of the car. Pain shot up David's shoulder. His dignity cracked, but not his resolve. "Officer," David said through clenched teeth, "you're making a grave mistake." Back at the precinct, as David sat cuffed to a bench, an officer from booking approached with confusion. "Wait a minute, Judge Turner?" The room went silent. Heads turned. Keller's smirk faltered. The booking officer's eyes darted between the file and David's face. "This man presides over courtroom 4B. He's a sitting judge." The weight of the revelation hit like a thunderclap. David, still calm, simply said, "I told him to run my license." The precinct erupted into whispers. Supervisors were called. The footage from Keller's dash cam was pulled immediately. There it was, undeniable proof. The illegal search, the planted evidence, the false accusations. By morning, the story had broken wide. Judge falsely arrested by officer dashcam exposed his shocking conduct. News crews camped outside the courthouse. Protesters filled the streets. Calls for Keller's firing grew louder by the hour. Weeks later, in a packed courtroom, roles were reversed. Officer Keller sat at the defendant's table, sweating under the fluorescent lights. His badge, once a shield, now hung useless. And who presided over the hearing? Not David. Recusal was necessary. But the irony was delicious. One of David's closest colleagues, Judge Ramirez, sat on the bench, gavel in hand. The dash cam played for the jury. Every second of Keller's abuse of power, every fabricated claim, every planted bag undeniable. The jury's verdict came swift. Guilty. Keller was sentenced to prison. His career in ruins, his name forever stained. The life lesson. Months later, David stood on the steps of the courthouse, reporters swarming. But he wasn't interested in revenge. He raised his hand and spoke with measured power, his voice carrying across the crowd. "What happened to me was not unique. The only thing different was my title. I am a judge, and that title saved me. But thousands of men who look like me, without that title, without that protection, are not so lucky. This is not about one officer. This is about a system that must be accountable. Justice," he paused, his eyes scanning the crowd, "isn't real unless it protects everyone. Titles should not determine who lives with dignity and who doesn't." He stepped down, walked toward his car, and this time when he drove home to his family, the sirens in his rear-view mirror were gone. The story of Judge David Turner is more than one man's brush with corruption. It's a lesson in truth, accountability, and the power of exposure. Because the greatest irony was not that a racist officer tried to arrest a judge. The greatest irony was that his attempt at injustice became the very proof that justice still mattered. And justice was finally served. Share your thoughts in the comment below, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I appreciate having you on this journey.